Good morning. Oh, I thought the music was going to fade. Mr. Barry does it all. Mr. Barry does it all. I am so excited to begin. Yesterday, we had the opportunity for our rising sixth graders. Today, we have the opportunity for our rising seventh graders. And there's something really, really unique and awesome about this where it's May 19th, and we all know that. It is fresh in the front of our brains, but it also feels like this is a gearing up to what next year is. And don't get me wrong, I am very excited about summer. I'm excited about summer for you guys. But this feels like the beginning of the school year already. And that's one of the things that I'm very, very excited about. I'm going to be sharing time today with Dr. Crosby. I'll be opening and going through some things at the very beginning, and then Dr. Crosby will take it and talk about some of the changes that your sons and daughters will experience their seventh grade year, which I'm very, very excited about some of the new opportunities that they will see. So here are the things. I'm going to talk about just our sustainable values, humble, hungry, and healthy. We're going to get into that. That's something that I just want on the lips of all of us as we go throughout our days. We're going to go into the hybrid block schedule. You are going to get to see a day in the life. It might be one of those things where you just say, you know what, I want to come and shadow my child for a day, and we'll figure that out. They won't like it, but we'll figure it out maybe for you. But you will see what your child's schedule will look like, which I'm really, really excited about for you to see. Courses of study, some new offerings, some new opportunities. Looking forward to 8th and 9th grade, again, building the importance of these middle school years. You'll see beyond the academics, the athletics that you guys have already had the opportunity to experience, arts, and then clubs, some more opportunities there. And then finally, we want to continue to talk about balance being the key. I'll give a brief visual of what I think would be helpful for you and your children. So that's what we're going to do. I'm going to pray. And again, I am so thankful for you guys being here bright and early to start our day. Father, thank you so much for this morning, the newness and the grace that you give upon us. Lord, I just ask for a fantastic session this morning, one that would give you honor and that we would give you all the glory. And Lord, that we would just enjoy you through the talking of what next year will look like and all the excitement that is there. Lord, as we go out from this space, just continue to embolden us to be a light. Amen. All right, so this is one of the things that I want to do a better job of getting out in front of everyone, and most importantly, our students. This is a pyramid, and it builds from the bottom. The bottom are our sustainable values of humble, hungry, and healthy, and those sustainable values build into our core values, which is culture, stewardship, and excellence. So some of the things that we have to do on a daily basis is to have humble, hungry, and healthy in the forefront of our minds. And again, that's something where I'm excited about the beginning of a new year to continue to get this out in front. So when we talk about that top, excellence, because I can go on and on, so I'm limiting myself to what I put on paper today. So excellence is fulfilling your potential. God has created you for an amazing purpose. One of the things that we know is that God has created everybody in this space here and then in the campus in the world for an amazing purpose, and that is to be a light for Christ. Foundational, first things first. That's what we're here to do. And so that is what excellence would look like. Stewardship, maximizing your resources. There are more, when we think resources, I think we think, dollars and cents. But there are so many resources here. That can be coaches. I just had a quick conversation with my son's coach. There's a resource for my son and a person and a mentor. That could be after school, 3 to 3:30. That could be FCA on 7:30 a.m. on a Thursday morning. Chapel. And the list, the guidance team, the list goes on and on and on. But one of the biggest resources is just managing your time, managing yourself, and then continuing to reach out to the others around you. Culture. Being an eagle, one of the things, again, that we are very, very passionate about, and it's important. There's a lot of awesome things going on in the arts and the academics and the athletics, and one of those building blocks is that culture, to be an eagle. One of the things that I ask new families as they're coming in the interview process, and it's a homework assignment, is how will you make Hilton Head Christian Academy a better place? And everybody can do that. And it doesn't have to go viral in order for it to make it a better place. It can be something as small as holding doors, because that is huge. So what are the things that we do to build on our culture? And those are some of the things that we're already working on now in the background. Humble, I have a couple quotes just to put it out there and an illustration. Humble, C.S. Lewis, a guy that I go to read, true humility is not thinking less of yourself, it's thinking of yourself less. To consistently put others before ourselves and to serve. No better illustration than Christ washing his disciples' feet. So as we continue to be humble in our service of one another and lifting each other up, that's the difference maker. Everybody is wondering, how do you make middle school this amazing place, or how do you make it different than the world? It's through humility. And that's one of the things that we're passionate about. Hungry. Grit is sticking with your future day in, day out, not just for the week, not just for the month, but for years, and working really hard to make the future a reality. Grit is living like it's a marathon, not a sprint. Throughout middle school, there's going to be moments where I think, like right now, it feels like a sprint. We have a couple things going on in the evenings of May. We've got a lot going on, and it feels really, really fast. But if we look at 6th through 8th grade, I would say that that's a huge chapter of life, and that's a marathon. And then there will be another marathon in high school, and then after high school, and then in life. And I'm running one right now. So it is so important that we view this as a marathon, and it is a race to bring God all the glory. But that takes day in, day out, showing up and being consistent in that way. And that's what hungry looks like here. And then healthy. One of the illustrations that I'll give, and I'll go back to it again when we talk about balance, is we're all juggling three balls in the air, 3 types. We have lead balls, we have the rubber ones, and then we have glass ones. Glass ones are the ones that we can never break. Our relationship with Christ, our community, our church home, our family. We have to keep those in the air. We cannot drop those. Then we have the rubber ones where from time to time we're juggling it and it'll bounce and we'll be able to get it back in the rotation. I think those are seasons of life where we're able to maybe handle more, maybe we have to step back. And then we have these lead ones that we were never meant to juggle in the first place, and we need to let those go. We need to let those crash and hit the floor. So as we have a healthy relationship, a healthy middle school, a healthy marathon, there's going to be certain times and certain seasons where we're juggling a lot, but some things need to go for a season. There's going to be some things that were never meant for you to carry. That lead one, that metal one to me is control. I never had it in the first place, but for whatever reason, I keep clinging onto it, thinking that I've got some of it, but I don't, and neither do you guys. Those are our sustainable values in our middle school, in our school. This is the operating system for everybody. And it's one of those things that our students will make that massive impact, and I'm excited to partner with you and your children as we do that part together. I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Crosby, and she is going to begin taking you through some fantastic stuff.
Okay, good morning. So glad to see everyone here today with your 7th graders, or rising 7th graders. Just a couple more days, they'll be 7th graders. So as you know, we moved to this beautiful new campus with lots of enthusiasm, but a lot of purpose in mind. So one of the big whys for the move was to provide an environment where your students could function in a project-based setting, a hands-on, minds-on setting all day long. And part of the transition, obviously we moved from the older facility, which was more segmented and more traditional type classrooms, to this newer, more open space. Part of that transition means that for the coming year, we have to make some adjustments to our schedules and our teaching practices in order to best accommodate your students in this model. I wanted to just discuss for just a minute, this is 6th, 7th, and 8th grade schedule basics, so just highlight that for you real quickly. One is that there'll be about 6 classes a day for your students. Their humanities section will be their ELA and their social studies class, and those two will be combined. So students will report to that class for 85 minutes a day, every day of the school year. So that is a full block of time in a block schedule that middle school students will actually be with both their social studies teacher and their ELA teacher. Those, if you've experienced humanities here in the past, you may have seen a little bit of confusion with the content that was being presented, but those two teachers will be working together to mesh their content. So for example, if they're studying the American Revolution, and that's where they're starting in their history class, then their novel will be matched to the American Revolution, and all of their writing and all of their projects and the things that they do during that unit of study will tie to the American Revolution. So that humanities section is an 85-minute course for 180 days. The remainder of their courses are in what we call skinnies, which are basically half of a block. And those are taught separately by mentors, and so they will have a skinny all year long for math, science, Bible, and their STEM class. So STEM, obviously science, technology, engineering, math, those courses will look different depending on whether they're in 6th, 7th, or 8th grade. But our concept there is to make sure that every student is digitally literate by the time they leave the 7th grade, so that by the time they're in 8th grade, they can begin their computer science requirements for high school graduation. We also have rotation of our elective courses. These are on what we call a 4-week rotating AB. And what that means for this particular student is that Monday and Wednesdays for the first skinny, which is the first half of the block period, which is roughly about 45 minutes, that this individual will take art. And then the second half, he or she will take PE. And then on Tuesday and Thursday, he'll take theater the first half and then music the second half. And there's some mix and match of that, and the guidance counselors will work with your student to determine what he or she wishes to take, during that time frame. But these are the 4 classes that will be offered during this point. The Fridays, as you know from the previous communication from the school, Friday dismissal is for the school is at 12:30. For your students, that means that 12:25 will be pickup for middle school. And so because the day is compressed and there are a couple of things happening during that day, on Fridays we'll host our worship. And we'll also, we will not have what we call E10, and we'll come back to E10 and talk about that here in just a second. We won't have E10 lunch and those kinds of things. It's a much shorter day for your students. So, but they will take one of each of those 4 electives during their Fridays once a month. So if they're an art student on this Monday, then on the first Monday of the month, first Friday of the month, they'll take art on Friday. Does that make sense? And then on the second Friday of the month, they'll take their PE. And it'll roll like that for the full 4 weeks of each month. But that gives every student an opportunity, if they wanted to experience all of those options. So this is what a sample day, Monday through Thursday, might look like for your students. So when I speak the language of skinny, what I mean is that from 8 to 8:45, this particular student is in their math class. And then from 8:50 to 9:35, he or she is in their Bible class. And then they go for the longer block from 9:40 to 11:05 to that humanities section, which is their ELA and social studies combined. Then this particular student goes to lunch, then E10, and then their science class, which is a skinny, science and STEM are skinnies. And then you can see that the elective skinnies for this student are at the end of the day with the dismissal at 2:55. So again, 5 minutes prior to the upper school release, the middle schoolers will come out just to facilitate traffic and so forth. Do you want to talk about E10? Just to make sure all the parents know.
And one of the things excited about for this Friday early dismissal, and it's a change, and I think it's one for good, is during that time, that will be in-house work where either coaches from New Tech Network will be coming and working with us as mentors, or we will be able to collaborate and work with one another, cross-curricularly or together. And that's just going to be a time of just work to continue to press forward in this academic endeavor. The E10, Eagles 10, was brought in as we continue to grow and as we continue to have more students and more mentors. There's a thing called healthy growth, and continuing to have that touch point, continuing to have that place that's not it's not academic, it's not maybe as formal, it's more informal, and it's the opportunity. Come on in, guys. It's that opportunity for our mentors to be able to have touch points with our students. Before it was, one mentor with, a handful of students when it first began, and now it's grown, which will be more of an example of what it will look like for our mentors as far as ratios, where right now I am working with Mrs. Duell and Mrs. Guccio, and we have about 22 students, and it's the three of us. And we're able to, right now, I think it's been important to get outside, it's been important to have snacks outside, it's been important to get fresh air, but then we'll be able to have pullouts and have one-on-ones or one-on-fours. Like, what do you have going on this week? What kind of games do you have? What kind of things are you experiencing? How are you doing? And the great thing about having 3 to 22 is maybe I'm not that person as far as a touch point, as far as telling me everything or letting me in, and maybe it's Mrs. Duell or maybe it's Mrs. Guccio. And to me, that's one of the healthiest things that we're continuing to hold on to throughout the year. So Eagles 10 right now, snacks, walks, but then again to get down and drill down to how are you doing? How can I pray for you? How can I serve you? Will be what we're hopping into and what we continue to do. Athletics, arts, some of the things that I've spent a lot of time with a lot of people, whether they're asking about this school or interviewing about this school, asking us about what we're doing. And there's been a lot of places where arts and athletics has not been able to happen. For us, I'm so thankful that our students are able to express themselves outside of the classroom. And we continue to do an incredible job of that through the fine arts and through athletics. I'm living it as a father, as my son is walking into middle school athletics world, and it's something that I'm so excited about. More mentors, more coaches, more people around my child. So athletics, full offerings and wonderful opportunities, people that are all in on Christ and that are all in on athletics, and it goes in that order. Fine arts, one of the things that I have just been so proud of, both our arts and athletics, but the show must go on, pun intended, is we have continued to produce, to put out, and to be creative, and also to be risk takers in our fine arts. And I think that our students are healthier for it. And that is just something that is incredible for our students to be able to do. Again, within the arts and athletics, we have those leadership opportunities for older students to pour into our younger students, which is something that is fantastic. Clubs, FCA is a popular thing. I would say the majority of the attendance in FCA is middle school, which I am super excited about. Chick-fil-A is a big push. You get that biscuit to start the day, but then also just being able to be there. It is student-led. Coach Matt Smith is doing a wonderful job of putting students before our children, and not just maybe getting the adults all the time, or even him just doing it every time, is taking risks again there to let our students be leaders in that environment. Student council and more. There are already things that, I continue to ask that question, how can we continue to get better at HHCA? There can be more things that we can do. Community service, whether through your teams, being a team, I think is a fantastic thing, but then how does that team go into the community? How does that team serve the community? That is one of the things that you will continue to see through New Tech, is that community engagement. From there, church, youth service, or youth group. What are the different opportunities that we have in the community to continue to be a light and to continue to talk about Jesus? And those are all things that we will continue to do in the middle school. But again, balance is something that we'll come back to here at the end.
So let's talk about what the future holds in terms of the progression for your student in the 8th grade and beyond. So a few things that are new and on the horizon here for HHCA, and these are high school things, but I always believe that 7th grade is that pinnacle time when you are starting to turn the ship toward your high school plans, and this is a very critical year for your students, and a challenging year for students. So I'll give credit where credit's due. 7th grade is one of the toughest years of school. But want to share with you a few things that are on the horizon. First and foremost, there are opportunities in the 8th grade to try out and to participate in electives at different levels. So, for example, with the band, with theater, with other fine arts opportunities, there are going to be opportunities for that. So, if you are interested in those types of things, and that's something that you see yourself doing in the future, playing in the band long term for the school, or being a part of performance theater, for example, then make sure when you make your elective selections that you choose wisely, students, so that you get as much exposure to those things as possible, so that when you're given the opportunity, to try out and to get into things like fall production or spring production, you're ready for that. Okay. The other thing that I want to point out is that you will also have an opportunity in the 8th grade for weightlifting and for conditioning for athletics. So if that is your thing, and that is what brings you joy, and that's where you want to spend your elective time the following year, then again, throw everything you have toward that this year and make sure that you're ready and that you communicate that with the school when it's time to do so. We have created lots of new electives at the high school level: law, mock trial and debate. There are dual credit opportunities. I'm not sure how many of you are familiar with that, and I know this may seem like it's a long way away, but it really isn't. But there are opportunities to earn college credits while you are in high school toward your college diploma. And you might say, well, why does that matter to my 7th grader? Well, it matters to your 7th grader because he or she may want to put forth a lot of effort in their academic classes so that they are prepared for high school courses early, because you need those high school courses early in order to get into those college courses early. Now, with that in mind, your students have all taken the MAP assessment. They took that a couple of weeks ago, and we are going to take those assessment results, and we will be identifying some 7th graders. I think it may be a small number, but we will be identifying some 7th graders that are academically eligible for some high school courses in the 7th grade to kind of put them on that pathway. You will be receiving information on that from the guidance office via email, so be on the lookout for that. I would expect that sometime in the month of June, just simply because we need to get through graduation and make sure our seniors are happily on their way before we start working with the lower level kids. But we will be taking a look at some 7th graders. We'll also be taking a look at 8th grade results as well. If you happen to be a parent of a 7th and an 8th grader, that will be something that's on the horizon for them, or opportunities to take high school credits in the 8th grade. So that opens up a lot of doors for your students. If they're able to do that, they can take dual enrollment classes through our partnership with USCB, which is our neighbor, or they can also take any of the 11 AP classes that we offer at a slightly slower pace if they start some of the high school classes in the 7th and 8th grade. So those are opportunities that exist for your students. If those things are of interest to you, my email is at the end of this presentation. This, by the way, will come out to you next week with the voiceover. So if you want to hear it again and make sure that you understood it correctly, it will be available to you and also to the other parents who weren't able to attend.
Yeah, as we look at that 7th grade, I don't know how to say it. It's, 6th grade is the newness and maybe like the honeymoon phase of middle school, and it's the beginnings. And then 8th grade is I am looking to, being a freshman in high school, and I've kind of have light at the end of the tunnel in this marathon. Come on in, guys. 7th grade is in the middle. It is the middle year of middle school, and if you want to say it's like crossing the middle in football, or if you want to say it's no man's land in tennis, where you're not volleying, you're not on the baseline, you're just kind of in the middle, and that's what it is, and that's where we're stepping in. 7th grade is an incredible year, and it continues to have more and more weight and more opportunity for the setup of high school. That's one of the things that I'm so excited about, for our students to be able to have more opportunity here in middle school to set themselves up into high school and to build. If our rising freshmen, Mrs. Robinson was in here, and if you did like a word count or did like tallies, as no students would ever do on teachers if they say the same word a lot, transcript, building that transcript. So it was out there a couple times, and it was one of those things that I think it's healthy to put it out there. For me, I look at this school, and it's one of those things. I was talking with a parent after yesterday. It's like, I wish that I could go back. And I'm like, I wish I could go back, but come here. I don't want to go back to my middle school and my high school. I wish that I could try it here. And for one of the simple points is you get opportunity to try things. There is a calling for your son and daughter, and I describe it as you're picking up lots of different rocks, and you're picking it up, and you're trying to figure out if this is the one, if this is that passion, and that's difficult, and it takes time and it takes effort. But one of the things, I didn't find out what my passion was until I came here. And our hope is that your sons and daughters can start to pick those rocks up and see if this is in fact my passion, and to begin to pursue it, and to do it in a way where they're not afraid. I remember I loved art, but it was one of those things I hid because I was a soccer boy. And so you did varsity soccer, so there's no way that you could do art too. But here, I don't see that, and it's something that I celebrate, of our guys and girls being big and brave and trying things and doing multiple things in multiple venues. So as we have all those opportunities, going back to this word of balance, that was the next slide. Balance was, we're juggling all of these things, and we want to do so many different things, and at times there are healthy no's. There are things where, no, you are stretched. We want to partner with you. We need your partnership with us as we go through the ups and the downs of just relationship and being together in community. But there are certain things to say, no, we're stretched, we're maxed, we're not eating together, we're not seeing each other, this, that, and the other. That is so very, very important to us, because odds are we will be asking, and it will be important for us to also do a healthy job of, hey, can you want to be a part of this? But if you're maxed out, you're maxed out. So what does that look like? What are the things that just can never drop because they're glass? What are the things for a season can drop and will bounce back into rotation? And then again, what were the things that we were never meant to be juggling in the first place? Big thing as far as the cumulative workload, as you start to perform and to see, there is a trajectory. And then at the end of that, there are APs and there are opportunities for that, but APs are college courses. So as we walk through that, ask the questions of where will we be going? What is the end game here? And then maybe plan backwards in some ways. Outside activities, family priorities, those are things that we want to be able to celebrate with you. Your child might not tell us all of the family things that you guys do, and that's okay, but we want to support you. We want to give time and space to those things. Sleep, something that I think a lot of people are not getting a lot of. Maybe in the month of May, it is so important for your child to sleep well. You'll hear all sorts of things. I see parents kind of looking at their children. I see those things, and I see kids not looking at their parents. The sleep is such a big deal and a big factor. Nutrition, breakfast, and all of those things are such a big deal for just the overall healthy growth of your child. Keeping a schedule, an agenda, choose wisely. You can't do it all. You may want to, and just because you can't do it all doesn't mean that there's something wrong. Doesn't mean that somehow you're not able to do as much. It just means that, again, in that season, maybe that's something that we just take a break and we're able to focus on the other things. I'm so excited. Again, it feels like August. I know it's not. It feels like August. I feel like we should be, gearing up for the school year, but I love that we're doing this here and now, and I cherish that you guys are here, and I'm excited for the 7th grade opportunities that your children will have here at Hilton Head Christian Academy. I believe the next slide is not balanced, but I think it's questions. There it is. If you have any questions, if it's one that you just want to ask one-on-one, we'll be here. If it's one for the greater good, fantastic. But we'll do questions, and then I'm just going to close us in prayer for today. Yes, we will be here. I know I will be here throughout, but we will have people on campus if there's any questions or any things that you want to walk through or you want to see again. Absolutely. This is not the be-all and end-all of meetings. We'll be together. We'll be doing this for years, for that marathon. Yeah, as we close, again, it just feels like the beginning, and I know it's the end of this year, but it really is the beginning of next year. I just wanted to close with a prayer. It's one of those things that I'm committing to, just continuing to pray over your children as we go out. It's an excerpt, it's a pullout of it, and it goes like this. It says, "May my lips be a well-tuned harp to sound thy praise. Let those around see me living by thy Spirit, trampling the world underfoot, unconformed to lying vanities, transformed by a renewed mind, clad in the entire armor of God, shining as a never-dimmed light, showing holiness in all my doings." And if I continue, I don't always have the words, and so I go to places that have more words than I have, and that's the prayer for middle school. That's a prayer for us as Christians, but as we look to just be a never-dimmed light, and that's how we can continue to strive to be different. Is just to continue to pray over your children in that way. So join me in prayer as we close. Father, thank you for those words. Thank you for those prayers. Lord, thank you for the saints that have gone before us. And Lord, today, again, as we go out, help us to be big and brave as we enter into the world, and as we share why we're different, Lord, as we turn other people to you. Continue to pray over these young men and young women as they go into their summer months, Lord, that it would just be a great time of rest, of health, and then of growth. We thank you so much for how you work and protect this place. Amen. Thank you so much.